Never make someone a priority when all you are to them is an option. This sentiment resonates with anyone who has felt the slow fade of someone they care about. It's not uncommon to feel confused, betrayed, or even anxious when someone important starts distancing themselves, and it can feel like a gut punch when you're left questioning your worth or your role in the relationship. Recognizing these signs of emotional distance can be painful, yet it's also the perfect time to look inward. Often, when someone drifts away, our immediate reaction is to panic or feel rejected. But in truth, this is the moment to regain control, not over the other person's actions, but over our own mindset and response. Stoic philosophy, practiced by figures like Marcus Aurelius and Epictetus, offers profound insights on how to remain grounded even in turbulent emotional waters. In times of uncertainty, the Stoics remind us that we cannot control others. We can only control our own responses and inner state. Recognizing this truth can be a liberating experience, as it allows us to focus on our self-respect and emotional boundaries instead of spiraling into anxiety or desperation. By embracing this perspective, we can turn what feels like rejection into an opportunity for self-discovery and empowerment, strengthening our sense of peace. The experience of someone pulling away is universally relatable, whether in romantic relationships, friendships, or even family dynamics. It's natural to wonder, what did I do wrong? Or, why is this happening? But taking a step back allows us to see that sometimes people distance themselves for reasons unrelated to us. They may be dealing with personal challenges, shifting priorities, or even a need for solitude. Recognizing this can help us avoid taking their actions personally, and instead focus on our own resilience and self-assurance. Acknowledging that the distance isn't a direct reflection of our worth is the first step toward emotional freedom. If you find value in our journey, please hit the subscribe button and watch until the end. You're different from the majority. Consider yourself an exception. In this video, we'll explore 7 powerful steps that draw from Stoic wisdom, guiding us on how to respond constructively when someone pulls away. These steps are designed to help you find peace and strength, no matter the circumstances, by focusing on self-care, setting healthy boundaries, and reclaiming your inner calm. The goal isn't to change the other person's behavior, but to shift our perspective and become stronger in our own sense of self. So, if you're ready to transform your response to emotional distance into an empowering journey, join us as we dive into these proactive steps. This isn't about playing games or trying to manipulate someone into coming back. Instead, it's about learning to stay grounded in self-respect and emotional resilience, regardless of what others do. By the end, you'll not only understand how to handle distance in relationships, but also how to use these moments to grow in ways you never thought possible. So, are you ready to start your Stoic journey with Stoic control, where timeless truths meet everyday life? Embracing Stoic wisdom for inner strength. When faced with emotional distance, it's tempting to react immediately, either by reaching out repeatedly, overanalyzing every interaction, or assuming the worst. But Stoic philosophy teaches us a different approach, one rooted in patience and reflection. Rather than trying to change or control others, the Stoics advocate focusing on what lies within our control, our thoughts, our attitudes, and our actions. By turning our energy inward, we become better equipped to face situations like these with clarity and composure. This inward focus isn't about avoidance. It's about building resilience in the face of emotional challenges. At its core, Stoic wisdom emphasizes the power of acceptance. According to Stoicism, things happen in life that we can't prevent or fully understand, including changes in relationships. When we accept this, we allow ourselves to let go of the need to fix or change others, and instead we focus on our inner stability. This doesn't mean we stop caring, but rather that we care in a way that prioritizes our own well-being. Accepting what is beyond our control becomes a radical act of self-preservation, protecting us from emotional turmoil. Another crucial aspect of Stoicism is the idea of amor fati, or loving one's fate. This philosophy encourages us to view every experience, good or bad, as an opportunity for growth. In this context, even the pain of someone pulling away becomes something valuable, a chance to reflect on what we want and deserve in relationships. By reframing distance as a chance to learn about ourselves and strengthen our inner life, we empower ourselves to approach relationships from a place of inner peace rather than insecurity. This shift can be transformative, making us less reactive and more thoughtful in how we engage with others. Stoicism also teaches us the importance of self-discipline. Emotional distance can create a whirlwind of thoughts and impulses, but by practicing restraint, we maintain control over our responses. Instead of impulsively reaching out or seeking validation, Stoic discipline encourages us to observe our feelings without acting on them immediately. This deliberate pause allows us to choose responses that align with our values and protect our dignity, fostering emotional stability in a way that impulsive reactions cannot. Finally, the Stoics emphasize the value of cultivating inner strength. By committing to self-respect, personal boundaries, and emotional independence, we become less susceptible to the actions of others. This strength doesn't mean we become detached or unfeeling. It means we build a sense of self that isn't easily shaken. Through this process, emotional distance becomes less threatening, and we become more capable of handling relationships with both openness and resilience. By embracing Stoic wisdom, we transform our response to distance into a pathway toward lasting inner strength. Step 1. Focus on your self-worth. When someone distances themselves, it's natural to feel as though your worth has been diminished. But the truth is, your value doesn't fluctuate based on someone else's presence or absence in your life. This first step is about reaffirming your worth, independent of how others behave. Too often, we rely on external validation to feel good about ourselves, which leaves us vulnerable when that validation is withdrawn. Focusing on self-worth requires us to shift our perspective inward, to recognize that we are inherently valuable, no matter who stays or goes. Self-worth is foundational because it's the bedrock of how we allow ourselves to be treated. When we feel worthy, we're less likely to tolerate behaviors that disrespect our boundaries or devalue our feelings. This doesn't mean we become indifferent. It means we become discerning. Instead of questioning what we did wrong when someone pulls away, we remind ourselves that another person's distance doesn't define us. Our worth remains steady, grounded in self-respect and self-love. By focusing on our inherent value, we become less shaken by others' actions and more confident in our own. Another key aspect of self-worth is understanding that you deserve relationships that reciprocate your care and effort. If someone is pulling away, it's worth considering whether they're truly investing in the relationship the way you are. This isn't about blaming them, but recognizing that relationships should be balanced. When we internalize our worth, we also understand that we have the right to seek relationships that honor and respect us. This clarity can be empowering, freeing us from the need to cling to people who may not reciprocate our value. Building self-worth also involves treating yourself with the same kindness and compassion you offer others. When someone pulls away, it's easy to fall into self-criticism or feel as if we're not enough. But self-worth is about reframing this narrative. Instead of asking, "What's wrong with me?" ask, "How can I support myself through this?" By focusing on self-compassion, we become our own source of validation, making us less dependent on others to feel valued. Ultimately, focusing on self-worth is a form of liberation. It frees us from the constant need for external validation and helps us find stability within ourselves. When we value ourselves, we can navigate emotional distance with grace, seeing it as a natural part of relationships rather than a personal failure. Self-worth grounds us, giving us the strength to accept changes in others without losing our sense of self. Step 2. Stop the chase. When someone starts pulling away, our first instinct is often to chase after them, to close the gap that feels so unsettling. But the paradox of chasing is that it usually drives the other person further away. Instead of drawing them back, it can push them to retreat even more. Stopping the chase is challenging, because it goes against our desire for connection and closure. However, choosing not to chase is a powerful statement of self-respect. It signals that we honor our dignity and value, even in the face of uncertainty. Not chasing doesn't mean we stop caring or give up on the relationship. It simply means we allow space for both ourselves and the other person to reflect. Sometimes people need room to process their own emotions or challenges, and chasing can make them feel crowded or pressured. By giving them space, we're respecting their autonomy and allowing for the natural flow of the relationship. This act of stepping back can be incredibly freeing, as it relieves us of the burden to fix things that may be beyond our control. Stepping back also provides an opportunity for us to reassess our own needs and desires. When we're not focused on chasing, we can ask ourselves important questions. Is this relationship meeting my needs? Or, am I sacrificing too much of myself to keep this person close? This reflection can lead to valuable insights about what we truly want from our relationships, helping us build connections that are mutual and fulfilling rather than one-sided. By stopping the chase, we also create a sense of mystery and independence. When we're constantly available or reaching out, we can come across as overly invested or even needy. By stepping back, we demonstrate that our world doesn't revolve around any one person. This can often lead the other person to reevaluate their own feelings and, in some cases, draw them closer. However, the primary goal isn't to manipulate their actions, but to reinforce our own self-worth and emotional independence. Lastly, stopping the chase empowers us to reclaim our time and energy. Chasing someone can be exhausting, draining us emotionally and mentally. By choosing not to chase, we redirect that energy toward our own growth and happiness. We invest in ourselves, our interests, and our well-being, creating a life that feels fulfilling and balanced with or without this person. This shift in focus can be transformative, enabling us to approach relationships from a place of strength rather than dependence. Step 3. Set healthy boundaries. Setting boundaries when someone pulls away is an act of self-respect, establishing limits that protect your emotional well-being. Often, when someone's behavior becomes inconsistent or distant, our boundaries can blur as we try to maintain a connection at all costs. We might compromise our own needs or allow behaviors we wouldn't typically accept, hoping they'll stay close. But boundaries are essential. They act as the framework within which respect, understanding, and mutual care can thrive. By setting clear boundaries, we're not only valuing ourselves, but also communicating our expectations for a healthy, balanced relationship. Healthy boundaries remind us that we deserve respectful and supportive connections. When someone pulls away, it's essential to assess what we're willing to accept and what crosses our comfort zone. Setting these limits can be challenging, especially when emotions are involved, but it's critical for our emotional health. For example, you might decide not to reach out repeatedly if the other person isn't reciprocating, or if their distancing behavior starts to affect your mental peace. Setting boundaries around communication or time spent dwelling on the relationship can help. These choices empower you to protect your energy, reinforcing your self-respect. Boundaries also help us maintain perspective. When we're too close to someone emotionally, we may prioritize their needs over our own. This can lead to feeling drained or resentful over time, especially if the other person doesn't appreciate our efforts. By stepping back and setting limits, we can create a healthier balance in which we give what feels right without compromising our well-being. This balance encourages a relationship dynamic based on respect rather than dependence. By honoring our needs, we demonstrate that we value ourselves enough to walk away from unhealthy patterns. Setting boundaries doesn't mean shutting someone out or being cold. Rather, it's about creating a space where both people can feel comfortable and respected. Boundaries communicate that you care about the relationship, but also prioritize your self-respect. By establishing these limits, you allow the other person to understand that while you value the connection, you won't accept behaviors that hurt you. This clarity can foster a more honest, open relationship where both parties feel valued and understood, or it can highlight that it's time to move forward separately. Ultimately, healthy boundaries are an expression of love for yourself. They ensure that you don't lose sight of your needs and values, even in the face of emotional distance. By setting these limits, you reaffirm that your well-being matters, that you deserve respect, and that you won't sacrifice yourself for someone else's comfort. Embracing boundaries as a form of self-love allows you to handle emotional distance with grace, giving you the strength to protect your peace regardless of others' actions. Step 4. Cultivate your inner peace. In times of emotional distance, finding inner peace becomes essential. It's easy to get consumed by anxiety, overthinking, and self-doubt when someone pulls away. But cultivating a peaceful inner world allows you to find solace within yourself. even when external relationships are in flux. Inner peace doesn't mean you're unaffected or indifferent. It means you're grounded enough to maintain a sense of calm despite the emotional turbulence around you. This sense of calm can be an invaluable source of strength, helping you face uncertain situations with resilience and grace. One of the best ways to nurture inner peace is through mindfulness practices like meditation, journaling, or deep breathing exercises. These activities can anchor you in the present moment, preventing your mind from drifting into endless what-ifs or worst-case scenarios. When we focus on the here and now, we can reconnect with ourselves and quiet the anxious thoughts that often arise when we feel disconnected from someone else. By grounding yourself in the present, you remind yourself that you are whole and complete, even without someone's constant presence or validation. Inner peace also involves learning to let go of expectations. When we're attached to how we think things should be, we set ourselves up for disappointment and frustration. Letting go doesn't mean you don't care, it means you're open to accepting whatever comes, trusting that you'll be okay regardless of the outcome. By releasing these expectations, you free yourself from the mental burden of trying to control or predict someone else's actions. This freedom fosters a peaceful mindset where you can embrace life as it unfolds, knowing that your happiness doesn't depend on anyone else. Another path to inner peace is self-compassion. Often when someone pulls away, we're harsh on ourselves, wondering if we're at fault or if we could have done something differently. But self-compassion allows us to treat ourselves with the kindness we would offer a friend. By reminding ourselves that it's natural to feel hurt and that it's okay to seek comfort, we become our own source of support. This compassionate approach quiets self-criticism and builds a nurturing inner dialogue that reinforces our sense of self-worth, creating a sanctuary within that isn't shaken by external situations. Finally, cultivating inner peace empowers you to approach all relationships with a calm and balanced perspective. When you're at peace within, you're less likely to react impulsively or make decisions based on fear or insecurity. Instead, you can engage with others from a place of authenticity and strength. Inner peace helps you see emotional distance not as a crisis, but as a natural part of human connections, allowing you to navigate relationships with patience, resilience, and trust in your own ability to handle whatever comes. Step 5. Reflect on your own needs and desires. When someone distances themselves, it's a valuable opportunity to pause and reflect on your own needs and desires. Often we get so caught up in maintaining relationships that we forget to assess whether they truly align with our values and aspirations. This step is about turning inward to evaluate what you genuinely want from the connection, what you need to feel fulfilled, and whether the current relationship dynamic meets those standards. By shifting your focus from them to yourself, you can gain clarity on what brings you joy and fulfillment. Reflection on your own needs can reveal insights about how you engage in relationships. For instance, do you tend to prioritize others' needs over your own, hoping to earn their affection or approval? Or do you feel pressured to fix things whenever there's a hint of distance? Recognizing these patterns allows you to understand yourself better and identify areas where you may be compromising too much. This awareness can be empowering, as it helps you build healthier relationship dynamics rooted in mutual respect and reciprocity, rather than sacrifice or self-neglect. This self-reflection process isn't about blaming or resenting the other person. It's about gaining clarity on what you need to feel valued and at peace. Taking the time to reflect allows you to set intentions for your relationships moving forward, ensuring that you engage with others from a place of strength and authenticity. It's an exercise in self-love, reminding you that your happiness and fulfillment matter just as much as anyone else's. Ultimately, reflecting on your own needs and desires fosters a sense of autonomy and self-trust. It reminds you that you are responsible for your own happiness and that you don't need to compromise your well-being for anyone. By taking ownership of your desires, you empower yourself to seek connections that align with your values, making each relationship an enriching experience rather than a source of stress or insecurity. Reflecting on your desires also invites you to consider whether the relationship aligns with your long-term goals and values. Sometimes, when we're focused on keeping someone close, we overlook signs that the relationship may not be fulfilling us. This distance can be a chance to ask yourself if the connection truly adds value to your life. Does it encourage you to grow, support your happiness, and honor your boundaries? By evaluating these aspects, you can determine if it's a relationship worth nurturing or one that may need to be redefined. Step 6. Focus on self-growth. When someone pulls away, it can feel like a loss, but it's also an opportunity to turn inward and focus on your own growth. Instead of channeling energy into wondering about their next move, invest it in developing yourself. Self-growth can be transformative during periods of emotional distance, as it allows you to shift your focus from the uncertainty of the relationship to something empowering and productive. By concentrating on self-improvement, you create a foundation of resilience that will serve you in all areas of life. Personal growth can take many forms, from pursuing new hobbies and skills to building mental and emotional resilience. This is an ideal time to pick up something you've always wanted to try, whether it's learning a language, taking up a fitness routine, or diving into creative outlets like writing or art. By exploring new interests, you're not only expanding your horizons, but also reminding yourself that your life is rich and fulfilling, independent of anyone else's presence. This process can be incredibly rewarding, as it opens up new paths to joy and self-discovery. Focusing on self-growth also helps cultivate emotional resilience. As you invest time in yourself, you become more attuned to your own strengths and areas for development, which can enhance your self-confidence. You may find yourself less impacted by others' actions as you realize your worth isn't tied to external validation. Working on emotional resilience can involve practices like mindfulness, meditation, or reading self-help books that encourage inner strength and self-compassion. By building resilience, you equip yourself to handle life's ups and downs more gracefully, making you less vulnerable to the emotional turbulence of others. Growth isn't just about individual pursuits. It can also mean addressing relationship patterns and personal boundaries. When we experience someone pulling away, it's natural to reflect on what we could do differently in our relationships. Self-growth can involve understanding your attachment style, communication patterns, or boundaries in connections. This awareness enables you to approach future relationships with healthier expectations and interactions, fostering connections that are mutually fulfilling. When we take responsibility for our own growth, we're better equipped to cultivate balanced, respectful relationships. Ultimately, focusing on self-growth can be incredibly liberating. It reminds you that you are whole, capable, and continually evolving. As you immerse yourself in self-improvement, you'll likely find that you need less external reassurance, and your relationships begin to feel more balanced. This shift not only enhances your relationship with yourself, but also makes you a more authentic, empowered partner or friend. Embracing self-growth can transform a period of emotional distance into one of personal empowerment and resilience. Step 7. Accept what you cannot control. The final and perhaps most liberating step in dealing with someone pulling away is to accept what you cannot control. This doesn't mean giving up or pretending you don't care. It means recognizing that everyone has their own journey, and sometimes that journey doesn't align with ours. When we accept this truth, we free ourselves from the anxiety of trying to influence someone else's feelings or actions. Instead, we learn to appreciate our own path and trust that everything will unfold as it should, even if it's not according to our plans. Acceptance can be one of the hardest steps because it requires us to let go of expectations and outcomes. Often, when someone pulls away, our instinct is to try to fix things, assuming that we have the power to change their mind or reignite their interest. But the reality is, we can only control our actions, not their reactions. When we accept this, we no longer feel the pressure to perform or adjust ourselves for their approval. This freedom allows us to act authentically, focusing on what feels right for us, rather than what might win them back. Practicing acceptance also teaches us to embrace uncertainty. Relationships, like life, come with no guarantees, and sometimes people leave, change, or drift away. Instead of resisting this uncertainty, acceptance encourages us to flow with it, trusting that whatever is meant to be will be. This mindset can bring a profound sense of peace, as it allows us to release our need for control and simply experience life as it comes. Acceptance doesn't mean apathy. It means we have faith in ourselves and in the process, no matter the outcome. Acceptance goes hand in hand with forgiveness, not necessarily forgiving someone else, but forgiving ourselves for any perceived mistakes or shortcomings. But acceptance reminds us that relationships are complex, and sometimes, despite our best efforts, things change. By letting go of self-blame, we can move forward without the weight of regret, embracing the future with an open heart and a clear conscience. Ultimately, accepting what we cannot control is a gift to ourselves. It enables us to live more freely, unburdened by the actions or decisions of others. When we accept that life is full of unknowns and that we can't control everything, we build resilience and inner peace. We become more flexible, more compassionate, and more capable of facing whatever comes our way. Acceptance doesn't eliminate pain or disappointment, but it transforms how we experience it, allowing us to handle emotional distance with grace, dignity, and a deep trust in our own strength. Navigating emotional distance when someone pulls away can be incredibly challenging, stirring up feelings of confusion, frustration, and even self-doubt. But by applying these 7 steps, you're not just responding to their actions. You're building a roadmap to inner strength, resilience, and self-respect. Each step is a reminder that regardless of how others may act, you have the power to create a fulfilling and peaceful life on your own terms. Embracing self-care, nurturing your boundaries, and investing in your own growth can be profoundly transformative, allowing you to reclaim your energy and center your focus on what truly matters: your happiness, your well-being, and your journey. When we shift our perspective from controlling or changing others to fostering our own growth, we allow ourselves the space to heal and thrive. We come to see that relationships, while important, do not define our worth, and that our value is rooted deeply within ourselves. The most empowering outcome of these steps is the discovery that true peace comes from within, not from any external validation. By accepting what we cannot control, we develop resilience and cultivate an inner life that remains steady, even amid uncertainty. And when we focus on our own well-being, we find ourselves prepared for healthier, more balanced connections, where mutual respect and appreciation flourish naturally. If you found value in our journey together, we humbly ask that you express your support by liking and subscribing. Your thoughtful reflections and insights are welcome in the comments below. Share this wisdom with others, and remember, learning how to respond with grace when someone distances themselves is not only about relationships, it's a journey of self-discovery and self-compassion. You emerge stronger, more self-assured, and ready to embrace life's next chapter with renewed confidence and wisdom. Remember, every experience, even the difficult ones, is a stepping stone to becoming your best, most authentic self.